There's no denying Katrina changed a lot of things, but those changes weren't all for the bad. For some Biloxi neighbors, it brought about a new tradition and a new sense of what it truly means to be neighbors. And out of Katrina, for the folks on Sill Avenue, also came sort of community mascot of sorts. It's called the Spirit of Sill Avenue Award. You can actually see it over my shoulder. It started off as a bit of a joke to the person with the greenest lawn after Katrina, but clearly there weren't too many of those. It's since been passed from one neighbor's house to the next as a sort of ongoing gesture of togetherness within that community. Well, Bay St. Louis marked Katrina's 5th anniversary with a citywide celebration. The only somber time was during a moment of silence to remember the 57 people who lost their lives during the storm. Waveland Mayor Tommy Longo, State Senator David Beria, and Bay St. Louis Mayor Les Fillingame read the names of those who passed away. The Bay High Cheer Squad placed a white rose in a vase for each of the deceased. It was a time to look back, but also a time to look forward in Ocean Springs. Despite the threat of rain, several people showed up to a special sunrise service to worship and give thanks. Doug Walker was there and has the story tonight. A volunteer organization that helped rebuild hundreds of homes in Hancock County is closing its doors. Mission on the Bay, under the Lutheran Episcopal Services, is the last volunteer site in Hancock County capable of housing large volunteer groups. Tonight, Hancock County reporter Al Showers talks with the director of the organization about the mark it leaves on the area. And the camp will officially close its doors on August 31st. And of course, we thank all those volunteers in the camp for the work it's done to help rebuild our coast. Well, as journalists, we try our best to tell the story and not become the story. But in the case of Hurricane Katrina, that hasn't always been possible. In such catastrophic events, there's a sense of shared understanding and oftentimes healing that comes from sharing each other's stories. And so is the case tonight with one of our very own WLOX anchor, Rebecca Powers. Like many of you and others at the station, her family lost everything in the storm. But amid all the loss and despair, the last 5 years have also brought more hope and personal blessings than even she could have ever imagined.
What a lot of people don't know, they saw me 3 weeks after our home was destroyed, but what they don't know is that same week I had a miscarriage. And I can't say enough about just having faith and never knowing what lies ahead, what is in store for you. It's definitely been an interesting 5 years. Just incredibly blessed with 2 amazing children.
Oh, and so much can change in 5 years, and they are little miracles. Mary and Max, and definitely a blessing in all of our lives here at the station as well. It's a story of 2 communities forever connected through the power of a camera lens and a monstrous storm called Katrina. Even more compelling were the people who captured the images and shared those stories. It all unfolded in a half-hour documentary called Pieces of Paradise, which highlighted the community of Bay St. Louis in the aftermath of the storm. Tonight, how it led to a lasting link between the Midwest and the Gulf Coast.
We are very interested in how students our age from Mississippi have learned to deal with the tragedies of Hurricane Katrina.
They weren't the storytellers that some might have expected to see in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. But down they came, a group of high school students from Ohio, ready to capture and share South Mississippi's story in a documentary called Pieces of Paradise.
It was just amazing to me that they were high school students with the magnitude and the depth of what they were doing. We used to have all the teacher parties over here and crawfish bowls and all that.
This is Liz Bosarge, a teacher at Bay High in Bay St. Louis, telling her story as part of the documentary.
They had an RV and I took them around town and showed them, and I mean they cried with us. I mean they cried just like they were the ones who had lost everything.
Bay High was adopted by the students of Hoover High School in North Canton, Ohio. The Ohio students raised more than $14,000 to help Bay High. But instead of just donating resources, the students donated their skills as aspiring broadcast journalists to reach out to the people of Bay St. Louis. Their efforts, according to former principal Marcia Alexander, created a special connection with students attending Bay High at the time.
I think it was really touching for the kids because they, like you say, they were able to tell their story in their own terms to somebody that understood from their perspective, being a young person also.
I know for experience, I had 3 of my athletes who rode out the storm and did not talk about it And they opened up, and their dad told me that if it wouldn't have been for them, they don't know if he could have ever gotten his daughters to, to talk about it.
Students like Brittany Wasco, seen here, say they appreciated the opportunity to be there for the students of Bay High. She still speaks fondly of the bonds formed during that trip.
It was an experience of a lifetime. Not many kids my age could say that they have done something like this. So just the student-student connection was what made the experience so special.
It's a connection former Bay High student and now college freshman Chloe Harville felt during that 7-day visit.
I think it made everyone feel really special, and especially, there were a lot of people who didn't understand how bad the storm was, and to have a group of kids come down who got it and they didn't just understand that it was a bad storm, but they wanted to share with people in their community and share with other people through, their skills, which was video broadcast.
So we were hanging on a pine tree right here.
Upon completing the documentary, the students returned to Bay St. Louis. Nearly 500 people came out of their FEMA trailers to watch the half-hour documentary and share stories after the viewing. Tom Wilson, a video production teacher who came down with the students, remembers it as a poignant moment.
For me, that was probably the most impactful moment on me. I realized that through this medium that we teach kids every day, they truly can have an impact. And that's what it's all about from our standpoint. And then from there, it just became relationships that we've maintained with people even 5 years later.
I just think that the ladies and gentlemen from Hoover High School will always be remembered by those students that they worked with and by the people here in this community. I think they did the whole community a favor in that video.
And the student goal, of course, was to share what was going on in the lives of those following Hurricane Katrina. Will they accomplish that goal? Here you see a photo of the documentary's premiere in Ohio. It also aired on public broadcast channels. And the students were also honored for their work. There you see right there. They were actually nominated for a regional Emmy for their documentary on Bay St. Louis.
Every year there's more and more cars. I'm loving it.
All the cars, they're really cool.
Just got here today and we drove our 2 cars all the way from Kansas City.
We traveled 1,300 miles from northern Pennsylvania, Halstead, Pennsylvania, just come down here cruising the coast.
Having a good time?
Oh, we're having a great time.
I look forward to cruising the coast every year. It's probably my favorite event of the year. It's worth living on the coast and dealing with the heat the whole year to be able to see these cars, I tell you what.